The date is the 22nd of September. I'm Arthur Falls, and this is episode 15 of Beyond Bitcoin. As usual, no investment advice, just good conversation with great people. This time we're checking out Culture on the Blockchain with Alex, co-author of the Bitcoin graphic novel, which is, as of this moment, still awaiting a name. We talk making money interesting, working with the guys at Swarm, funding models, the Bitcoin ethos, and the power of the graphic novel medium. You never thought so much could be packed into a half hour.
The problem with money is that it's pretty boring, and I think it's done on purpose. I mean, the system we live in doesn't want money to be interesting, and because it's better for the system if we all see money as something that we don't want to think about. We use it on an everyday basis, but we don't really want to think about where it comes from and how it influences our life and how it drives our behavior patterns. But basically, money is also an incentive system, and if that incentive system is managed in a certain way, well, you have all kind of weird effects in the system. So from that moment on, I really thought that understanding money is really important. But until I didn't get to Bitcoin, I didn't really see any way to transmit that in an interesting way to the overall population. And the great thing about Bitcoin is it has plenty of crazy, funny stuff that happened in the last couple of years, like Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know who he is, where he's coming from, and I think that's a really intelligent thing, but it makes it really suspicious to the average guy in the street. And also like all the other things that happen, like Silk Road and FBI and all those kind of things, but also all the many good things. And all that coupled to money makes a really interesting and exciting story where you can get the average guy in the street, I think, really hooked up to it. And instead of getting him hooked up on the negative aspects, just like make it really exciting, make it really fun to read and say, well, this is a real Matrix adventure kind of story. And in between, and that's what we try to do in the graphic novel, transmit all the fundamental aspects of what money is, what Bitcoin is, what blockchain technologies are, and what the basic fundamental aspects are to understand, like public addresses, private addresses, and stuff like that. Because once you start using money, like Bitcoin, it's not like using your own bank account, because you become your own central bank, you are your own money manager, but with the advantage that you can use it on a global stage anytime you want.
Yeah, it's awesome. And this idea of exploring, public-private key cryptography, or explaining that really basic concept is extremely valuable. That's one of the most core elements of Bitcoin and cryptography in general, and also the one that is, for a lot of people, the most elusive.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm just looking through here. You've dedicated the graphic novel, The Hunt for Satoshi, to Hal Finney, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we decided that recently after him passing away, unfortunately. And we started working on the graphic novel in October last year. And as we developed the storyline, Hal Finney, he was included as part of the book in at least two parts. One, which is in a specific page, I won't say the page, there's a decrypted message from him from the 90s where he gave out a prize to anyone who would be able to decrypt that message. And I think that person would then get $100 if he decrypted that message. And basically that message that was decrypted, we included that message as a homage to him in the comic book, and he's also included in our appendix with about 100 other Bitcoin personalities around the world that where we basically explain briefly why Hal was important to Bitcoin and also, of course, to PGP. And and that's what we did a couple of months ago. Then unfortunately he passed away recently, and we decided to dedicate the comic book to him, but also we spoke to Gavin Andresen and told him, look, we dedicated the comic book to Hal. And I spoke to Gavin when in the Bitcoin Foundation Amsterdam conference. I told him, look, we're doing this comic book, and which will be launching later this year, and we will let you know when we do. And so we basically said, look, I mean, since this happened now, it would be really nice, since you're a leading personality and you have a leading role in the Bitcoin community, if you can sign a couple of copies, and we can then do like a contest. Basically, the contest came up with was to do an art contest. So anyone who tweets the @Bitcoin comic Twitter handle with a certain format, we can maybe share that later. Then they can share, I don't know, like a HTML5 canvas or video or photography, anything they want about the first transaction between Satoshi Nakamoto and Hal Finney, and in whatever way they want to represent it. And the ones that get the most retweets in a honest way, they will then get a signed copy from Gavin Andresen.
Awesome. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. I think it's a really, I think a lot of people that are buying the comic book and participating in our crowd sale, they're really excited to have it just for the fun of it, and also for sharing it with loved ones and family, but also because they see it as a collectible, because they think that this will become a collectible item about Bitcoin pop culture. And I think if you have a signed copy from Gavin Andresen, then that's even better. But you're also making contribution and honoring the memory of Hal, and which was a key figure in cryptography, and I think that's a good way to do it, to remember him, and I hope many people will participate in sharing their representation of that first transaction.
What events does the graphic novel follow?
But basically, what we're doing is a Matrix-style adventure story where there's a lot of action, because what we want to make sure is that this doesn't get boring at any point of time, and anyone, no matter what his level of interest is in Bitcoin, that they will really want to read the story. And then what we have done is, in between the storyline and all the different things that happen, we brought in all the Bitcoin aspects. Now, to answer your question, basically the main character is a person called Bob, and as you know, Bob is a placeholder name that is for cryptography, to explain cryptographic interactions or communication. So that's usually Bob and Alice. So in our story, we have Bob, the main character, and Alice, his girlfriend. Alice doesn't appear too much in this first story, but she's part of the storyline, and you can see her during the story. And basically, Bob is being chased by the mob, because the mob thinks that he's Satoshi, and they want to kidnap him to get his Bitcoin fortune. It's basically the young guy from the mob who doesn't have a clue what it is, but he thinks, oh, this will really help me to put me up in the organization.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy called Tag, who during the storyline, he intervenes and he saves Bob from the mob. And then while Bob is like, oh my God, why are these guys chasing me? What do they want? And then Tag starts explaining to him what Bitcoin is, what the Bitcoin movement is about, and those are basically the main characters. And in following all those events, we have some freelance agents from the NSA that track what is happening, and they say, well, look, let's see what the mob was on to here, because if they really find Satoshi Nakamoto, then we're interested. And these guys, they have their own problems, these freelance agents. And and then you see the whole thing escalates during the storyline, basically.
This sounds real William Gibson.
Yeah, it is a lot of action to it.
How have you found working with the Swarm guys?
Really, really good. We are the first project for Swarm besides themselves, as you know, because they did their own crowd sale in June, and they're great people to work with. Very, very down to earth, very professional, very hardworking. We talk every day. Every day we have a call we call it like the Swarm sales call, where we discuss all the different things, all the marketing and promotion actions we're doing to get people to know the comic book. And yes, of course, since this is being the first project, we're all learning a lot. I think Swarm themselves and the Swarm team to how to run a campaign for people that want to participate, and we're also learning a lot. But I'm really happy because that we're doing this together, because we want the graphic novel to be owned by the Bitcoin community first. The Swarm community, but also the Bitcoin community overall, because we think that first of all, we need to make sure that our community values this and wants to share it and wants to participate in it. But our final goal is really to reach the mainstream and to reach the average guy in the street. So what we're hoping for is that people participating in the crowd sale we're doing right now is that they will buy these comic books or the graphic novel for themselves, but then also buy copies for the loved ones, because I think all of us struggle to explain what Bitcoin is and how it works, because this, I mean, as you said before, like these two very difficult things to understand, money and technology, and that's basically the merger of Bitcoin. Yeah, we hope that people will be sharing it with their families, with their friends, with their loved ones. And reading the comic book, it takes you about 60 minutes. I think you really get a very quick grasp of what the main aspects and what the main different lines of thoughts are and thinking. And then once you get hooked up with that, you can then keep on educating and helping your friends and anyone you want to keep on learning about it.
Is this a one-off? Are you going to make more? Are you intending to revisit the storyline at all?
It's open-ended. I don't know. I mean, it was thought of like a one-off, like really, like, I mean, the way the whole graphic novel is built is to make sure that that the Bitcoin community has a tool that they can share. But if it were to become really, I don't know how to call it, successful, or people say, look, I really want to read more about this, what happens in the next story, then we would maybe consider doing a second round. I mean, the people that have read the story so far, they were like, oh my god, when it finished, I was like, no, why did it finish already? I want to read more. But I don't know. It really depends on the community. If the community wants more, we will produce, although it's loads of work. We worked on this now for 1 year. It was a lot of hard work. But if there's a real demand, we will do it. But our main goal really is to get this to the mainstream. So the way the story is built is really that you can read it 2 times. One is, imagining that you're a person that has no idea about Bitcoin, you just read it and you're like, oh my god, this is really interesting, I want to know more about it. And if you start reading more about Bitcoin then and blockchain technology, and you read it a second time, then you will discover across the comic book all these other different things that are really interesting. Like these examples I told you, yeah, Bob and Alice, but there's also a lot of images across the comic book. You have like the Shiba Inu from Dogecoin appearing. You have different appearances like CoinDesk is there, different other Bitcoin media, Bitcoin Magazine, of course, and other personalities. You're in New Zealand. We have, for example, Kim.com appearing in the comic book, setting up an account in Mega. So all kind of really interesting thing that we play around with the text or the visual elements or the way the storyline is built, that it's almost every page there's something hidden. So it's like a cryptographic puzzle you can play around with once you know more about Bitcoin. So anyone who knows about Bitcoin, or the people that did read about it, they were really excited about seeing those kind of elements as part of the storyline. As the blockchain technology movement and the cryptocurrency space evolves, and I think many of us, we believe that the whole subject of disintermediation and decentralized consensus-based technologies are being used in overall society for different purposes, I think this whole thing will become much, much bigger. So, I mean, I've seen a couple of other cultural expressions. I don't remember now exactly which ones. I think this is just, at least in the comic world, as far as I know, it's the first full graphic novel. There were like a couple of cartoons and stuff that have been done around, I think. But I think this whole thing will become much, much bigger, because I think we all believe this is the future of how life will be organized in the next 5 to 10 years, the same way the internet changed our life completely in the last 20 years. I think blockchain-based technologies will change our lives completely in the next, I think we all believe, the next 5, 10, 15 years. So we're very, very early stage, and it's really fun to be part of this very early stage. And I think it's also one of the reasons why some of the people that are funding the crowd side are like, look, this will become a collectible, this will become a classic in the future, because it will be like kind of reference, like, oh, look, the first comic book, the first graphic novel that dealt with the whole subject. And well, it would be really cool if that happens. And I mean, in the acknowledgements part of the comic book, I mentioned that I hope that once, when I'm older, that if my children look back, say, look, I mean, this is one of the small things or small contributions that our dad made to the world, and trying to help, because I really think we need to take up this opportunity that blockchain-based technologies is offering us to change the world. And money and what we are doing is just one of the many subjects. I mean, the ton of other subjects about how the world is really not working out right I think, and there's a lot of things we need to change. So we're just talking about one of the little subjects, or one of the important but little subjects here, but there are many others. So yeah, I think this is one of the key motivations.
While we're on it, let's go through the crowd sale details and how people can find it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a goal to raise 42 bitcoins. Right now we have almost 16 bitcoins. And the goal of the crowd sale is to print or to do print run of 1,000 comic books in English, and then distribute them to all the people participating in it, and hopefully these people will then distribute it across the world. Now, the really funny, interesting thing of what we're doing, and that's something we're really excited about, so we're doing this with Swarm, and Swarm, they work with tokens. So we have created 3 different tokens. And the main one is Comic-Con, but the 3 different ones, 2 of them are redeemable, and 1 is a special voting token. So the first one is called Comic Book, which is a redeemable comic book token. The second one is a special comic book or comic special, which is basically a special edition, limited edition of the comic book. So this will be the only time that we're doing this print run. And then the third one is the Comic-Con. So for each purchase, we have 8 different levels. So to get rewards, you get one of these basically. So if you take the basic comic book, you make a contribution of 0.05, which is around $25, and you get 300 Comic-Con. So those 300 Comic-Con, and that's really fun and interesting, we think, you will be able to participate in in deciding what the cover will be and what the title of the comic book will be. So we basically using the knowledge and the wisdom of the crowd to decide on that. And it will also give you, we're still finalizing this with the lawyers, but this will quite likely happen. It will also give you, for 5 years, 5% of the net revenue that any derivative intellectual property is generating. So this means if we produce in the next 5 years and anyone comes around and wants to make a movie based on the comic book, any money that comes in through that, we would share 5% of that net revenue with the Comic-Con holders. And yeah, so this is a way to play around with Bitcoin 2.0 technology. We're using Counter Wallet because that's what Swarm is using. And I think that makes it really exciting because it's kind of a way to get the whole community to participate in this. And another cool thing that we're doing, and actually we had a first person buying his Cameo appearance last week for 5 bitcoins. The Cameo appearance is basically you can become part of the storyline. So you give us a photography of you, and we make you appear somewhere in the comic book. So you can maybe sit next to Kim.com, who's there, or do something else somewhere in the comic book where you appear basically. And Hassan, a Bitcoiner in Switzerland, he was the first guy to participate in that, and so we have a number of really funny rewards like that.
I like the idea of that you're actually allowing the participants in the crowd sale to vote on the cover and the title. That's a really brilliant innovation that I hadn't heard that anything like that was going to be going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know if anyone has done something like that so far, but we think it's a really cool way of using meta coins to get people to participate. And I mean, there's so many other interesting things we can do in the future. I mean, like one guy from the Swarm community was talking about doing distributed printing. I don't know, the really, really interesting things we can do. So this is just a very small first step in that direction. But I mean, well, someone has to do it. So we're exploring that, and we try to transmit why that is important. And I think yeah, it's part of our philosophy, and I think part of the whole crypto movement, but playing with these things and trying to use them as we go, and discovering what works, what does not work.
The idea of revenue sharing for the participants in the crowd sale, I think, is key, and it's awesome that you've included that along with the copy of the book. There are multiple different. You've got a hardcover and a paperback, don't you?
Well, there will be all hardcovers, but the 2 different types of hardcover. You have like the standard copy, which is like the one that we will print in general once we have a publisher in the States or any English-speaking country. And then there's the special limited edition that will have other special contents included that are not included in the standard copy, basically. And also, as part of the special edition, what we will do, all people, the special edition is called Founders Edition. In the Founders Edition, all the people that participate in that, the names will appear in the thank you page at the end, quite visibly. And so it's really something that you will keep there as part of your Bitcoin memories, and you will be part of it. And as I say, it's a limited edition, so we will only print what gets ordered, and that's it. And we won't do more print runs of those. So for those people that really want to make a serious contribution, that's 0.2 Bitcoins. Then we have the Founder Edition Silver, which is 0.5, and Founder Edition Gold, where we had also a number of people buying that one, is 1 Bitcoin. If we want to change the world, we want to contribute to the world, we need to help the mainstream and the average guy on the street to get to know about Bitcoin. And I think they see, and I do also believe, that this is can be a very good way in achieving that. But also, if you don't want to do that, I think that only for selfish reasons, contributing to this because is important, because if you want to maintain or grow the value of your Bitcoin holding, then the Bitcoin community needs to grow. It's not my main motivation. I think my main motivation is really like, we need to share blockchain technologies with the world. We need to educate the world about money. As I said before, there are loads of things we need to improve in the world for future generations. So we don't want to mortgage anymore as it has been done, or as it's being done right now. In the future, we need to start paying into the savings account and contribute more to the world for the future generations.
It's good to see that you've tiered it like this, because for someone who is interested in the project and wants a book, but that's satisfied at the first level.
And absolutely, and I think that's we're really happy to see Hassan and Zurich to be this first cameo appearance with 5 Bitcoins. But it's not about the 5 Bitcoins. It's also, I think, what is really satisfying about it for us is that we've been working this for 1 year now. It's like when we started, we would tell people, oh yeah, we're working this graphic novel on Bitcoin. Like, okay, good for you. and we we're like, okay, thank you. But now that people are seeing the video trailer, like the 1 minute video trailer we got like 12,000 views on the video trailer. They get to see the comic. They're like, oh, this is really cool. I really want to be part of this. It's a big difference about talking about things and then showing it to people. They're like, no, this is really cool. I want to participate. So we're really happy that that's the main satisfaction for us right now.
When does the crowd sale end?
15th of October. So we still have 30 days to go right now.
When did it start? I didn't.
It started as a pre-sale test round for the Swarm community. So there was like a week or 2 weeks where only the Swarm community holders could participate, and then we opened it up like a week ago.
Could you kind of describe your promotional campaign, just so that we can get an idea of how these things run? Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting because for me it's the first time they're doing a crowd sale. Plenty of things we could do better if we ever have to do it again. But the main things have been really like reaching out to media. We've been specifically targeting the Bitcoin media. Because that's part of our strategy of first involving the Bitcoin community and try to grow from there. Being very active on social media, as you said, and then also engaging a lot the friends and family from the Bitcoin world. So, I'm based in Spain, and the Spanish Bitcoin community has been very, very actively supporting this, because I have more people that I know in the Spanish-speaking world from the Bitcoin community. But also, the people that I've met over the time now in the different Bitcoin conferences I went to, so they've been also supportive. But where I noticed the biggest support is from Spain, because that's where I have more personal relationships, where you can meet more frequently. And so for anyone who thinks about running something like this, I think that's important to take that into account, because I'm surprised that it's really the Spanish Bitcoin community has been very supportive. And I think just because there are more opportunities to exchange ideas and to meet, and then it's easier to share. So, but in general, it has been the overall community has been helping, but we need to make more of an effort
the more further away people are, the more you need to make an effort, I think.
And all this, but out of an urge to educate people about money. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think just especially, I mean, like the different aspects of the Bitcoin community, but I think I like to call them the purist Bitcoin movement, and I think the purist Bitcoin movement share very much their way of approaching Bitcoin, and which is, I mean, of course, the blockchain technology is an amazing advancement in the history of mankind now. But it's what is most important to me is the philosophical concepts behind it and what we want to contribute to the world. And I think the purist movement in the Bitcoin community, they especially value that as part of the comic book. That's something we try to reflect. So Bitcoin, yes, of course, a number of people got really wealthy by owning Bitcoins and not selling them cheap and holding on to them all the time now. But that's not the key aspect of it. The key aspect is about what we can change, what we can contribute, and I think that's what creates also the biggest level of satisfaction for everyone, is to be able to make a contribution to the world. I mean, there are loads of people around the world that are really rich, but when you read about them, I don't know that many, but when you read about them and when you listen to them, sometimes that doesn't necessarily make them very happy. So I think sharing and contributing and helping other people, that's really something that creates a lot of satisfaction for everyone, and I think it creates satisfaction for us in producing the comic book, and hopefully it will help other people in doing the same with other people also.
When you say what we want to change in the world, how do you interpret the core Bitcoin kind of ethos?
I think it's distributed consensus voting, and the funny thing is we didn't have that for money before, because money, well, we had it in the past more because nature could participate in voting how much money would be produced through the gold system. Then there's lots of economic discussions around what was good and what was not good about it. But I think what is really important right now, we have all around the world a number of very wise men sitting in an institution called central bank, and they decide about how money will be managed. And this has all kind of influences in how our economy works and how our lives are managed. Sometimes these people, they can guard and defend and safeguard their independence from external political or economic powers. Sometimes they cannot. And I think in the way Bitcoin is managed, you have the crowd, or much bigger crowd, deciding on how money is managed and how it's being distributed, and at which rate, and how people can participate. And that's a huge change. And we didn't have those tools before, and that's a fundamental aspect. And right now we're talking about how this is being done or can be done for money. The future, it will be done for all kind of other things. It might be done for notary processes, for legal registration, for managing property in all kind of ways. I don't know. But the thing that Satoshi explored and that he made really interesting is how to do it with money, and that's how it can change. And yeah, we've seen plenty of crazy situations. I mean, let's take Cyprus, where basically your government together with the central bank decided to confiscate your money. That's not something really nice. If you worked 40 years of your life waiting for your pension, waiting to be able to enjoy your savings, and then suddenly, you know what, no, we will keep some of that because your country needs it. Thank you very much. That's the most direct way of confiscation. And some people, they don't exclude that this might happen again in other countries around the world, as the debt pressure on some countries keeps on growing, and some governments might get more desperate about it. So, Bitcoin is one way that might help some people around the world to protect themselves.
That's really, it's admirable and really well put. I hope that this work can at least spread the message to a more difficult to reach audience than we currently have managed to reach, because it's kind of like you said before, money is boring. But this looks like something that could really turn it around and make for some really fascinating reading. I really look forward to getting a copy myself.
Thank you, Anthony. No, I think absolutely. I mean, I think Bitcoin makes money interesting, And this is a disruptive technology. The same way as telecommunications used to be really boring, now it's not boring anymore. We are doing this interview through Skype. The whole world of telecommunications, the cost for the marginal will be dropping close to zero, and there will be other ways that the members of the telecommunications industry will have to work on to make money. And I think the same is happening to money now. I don't think the big venture capital firms, when you listen to people like Andreessen Horowitz or Union Square Ventures, and we also mentioned all these people in the appendix of the comic book, and they see that because they've been running on the previous waves of disruptive change. We don't know how far this disruptive change will go, if it will just be like, oh yeah, now some central banks of some countries and some banks will be issuing money through a blockchain-based technology, and maybe they will even use Bitcoin, and that's it, end of the story. Then it will be really a really commercial use and a standard way of just continuing with the same things we've been always doing, and that's it. Which is, for myself, the worst-case scenario. Okay, that's made a huge technological progress, and this is what we're doing with it. Okay, that's great. We have the whole venture capital industry participating in it, making money in new companies, disrupting banks. And of course, I think many of us see that banks have to be disrupted. It's an outdated model, the way they work. I mean, in their own internal organization structures and in their own way of making money that can be improved radically. But I'm hoping, and I think many of us are hoping, that this will go beyond that pure commercial aspect.
And talking to you now, this is... I've got really excited about it, eh?
Great. Well, that's really the objective. I think we really want to get everyone excited in the Bitcoin community. I think it also helps to have the opportunity to do these kind of interviews with people like you who fully make part of the Bitcoin community, who can then also help us transmit it to the rest. This is not about a comic book. We have just chosen the comic book or graphic novel as a tool because the great thing have the capacity of transmitting complex information in one single image. And that's something very powerful, and I think very often it's being unappreciated. But I think we achieved this with the comic book and the graphic novel we've done. But it's also, I think we all agree with that. We need to grow the community. Of course, it's great to do some amazing projects like Ethereum, and that needs to happen. There need more of those projects that need to happen around the world. But I think all these people that work and very hard on the Bitcoin community to explore on technology, on the geeky side of things, here we have an opportunity to share it with the rest of the world, because we need the rest of the world to participate in it. And the sooner, I think, the better.
All right. So it's 120 pages. Oh, wow, 120 pages. Man, you read fast. An hour?
Well, I mean, we have 80 pages for the comic book. Then we have a number of things in the appendix. Like we have a letter where I try to explain why Bitcoin is important in our lives and how it's part of money. Then we have another page explaining what the Bitcoin core development team is and what that means, because a lot of people don't know what open source is or anything like that. So we try to explain the basics of it. And then we have the appendix with the 100 people from the Bitcoin community, and a number of things just to mention that about what we tried to achieve with highlighting those people. And we haven't been able, of course, to mention all the people. This is just a random list from people that we've encountered or seen interesting over time now. But a few things that we tried to transmit. One is that you see that these people are from everywhere in the world. People from South Africa, from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, from everywhere. We tried also to transmit this is very, very strong and important Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is betting heavily on this. The venture capital industry is betting heavily on this. But also like the big successes of Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and company, they're also betting on this. They're looking at this. They're looking at this very, very closely. This is not something that is just part of a geeky culture group now around the world that is managing it. And then also what we try to highlight is to make, without making advertising, but kind of create a reference pages for people. So we're not telling people, oh, go here to open a Bitcoin wallet. But we mention, hey, here's Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase. They have a Bitcoin wallet. Or here's BitPay. They are one of the key merchant solutions in the world for anyone who wants to become a Bitcoin merchant, and so on. And all kinds of different people, people from the cryptography world that you mentioned, like Diffie-Hellman, Ralph Merkle, etc. It made key contributions that made it possible to create Bitcoin, basically, because Satoshi needed to build on the shoulders of giants too. And so we have Nick Szabo, Wei Dai, all these different people. I mean, not everyone, of course, but the ones we could think of and understand, because we don't understand everything, but we try to include as many as possible to make this representative a little bit to give a flavor of how the ecosystem is looking right now. And it will be interesting to see how this looks in 5 years, because probably will be very different. Just to mention, anyone who's interested to join the crowd sale, you just need to go to swarm.co/Comic-Con. And there you have all the details. You have a video of myself explaining why we're doing this. But if you're listening to this podcast, you got it already. And also our video, our trailer video, which is really fun to watch. So I recommend to watch it. And yeah, and it's, I don't know. And those are all the things we've been doing. And we're really excited about having the opportunity to contribute in this way to the Bitcoin community.
Great. Well, I'm going to buy my one right now. And, I look forward to seeing how it goes, and let's catch up at some stage in the future as well to see how it's all panned out and what your experience has been.
Yeah, absolutely, Arthur. Let's do that. It was really great talking to you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you.
That's all. Thanks to Alex for joining me, Cesis for the music, and to you for listening. Contact at beyondbitcoinshow@gmail.com and check out the show notes for relevant websites.